Joining me today is our special guest, Oli London, the author of Gender Madness. Oli, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Alison. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, to start off, I think a lot of us would like to hear your personal story and what the original struggles you were facing so that we can all have a better understanding of this issue.
Yeah, so I struggled for much of my life. As a kid, I was always questioning my identity. I never felt like I fitted in with other kids in my school. And then when I got to high school, I started to change, obviously going through puberty. So I started to develop very bad acne. The way I looked changed, my voice changed and everything. And I got very cruelly bullied for that. And during my teenage years, I developed kind of fatty tissue around my chest. So it's called gynecomastia. It's a condition. So it almost looks like male breasts. So I used to get bullied a lot for that. And, I vowed one day when I grow up, I'm actually going to remove that part of me and change the way I looked. And then throughout my life, it was mostly body dysmorphia, but it was also coupled with gender dysphoria coming in and out at various stages in my life. Then as I became an adult, I tried to start fixing things. I thought, you see all these people with filters online, everybody looks perfect. I thought, maybe I can look like that one day. So I moved to South Korea. I started having just a few surgeries to fix my nose. And then it really became an addiction because, the more surgery you have, you get kind of fueled by people around you. You look great, you look amazing, you get more social media likes. And then I really developed this extreme confusion with my identity. And, I wanted to base my look on a kind of Korean feminine look. And then I actually had facial feminization surgery and transitioned. And, then I got to a point where I was like, this is really making me unhappy. And, society has been telling me this is the right thing to do, but I just didn't feel right inside.
So at that point is when you decided to detransition, correct?
Yeah, so it wasn't an overnight process, and I do talk about this a lot in my book. It was actually a moment when I was really struggling with my identity. I was thinking I can continue down this path, I can continue pushing my body to the extreme and, trying to be someone that I'm not, or I can actually get help. So, funnily enough, I actually started going to church and, going regularly just to pray and sit at the back of the church and listen to the choir and procession. And it was very warming and very touching to be around that positive energy and to have this new kind of community. So that really helped me. It was almost like a therapy, and it helped me kind of realize that, we're all God's creatures. We're all made in God's image. We should just find happiness from within, but also try and help other people, because there are so many people struggling right now, Alison. And, as someone that has social media and a platform, I feel like I really need to speak up for these young kids that are being brainwashed and indoctrinated.
I think that's the point where a lot of women have concerns about their children. No one wants to ostracize young people. We want to be supportive, but at the same time, this seems very dangerous to be giving young children hormones or doing surgery that could affect them the rest of their lives. And then you're being told that you're not being inclusive. So I think a lot of us are very confused as to what the right thing is to do.
Well, it's very confusing. And you also have, people trying to erase the word woman, and call them menstruators or pregnant people. So not only do you have an attack on people's children, you also have an attack on women and parents, and the institution of the family unit, that is being broken down. So it really is a pivotal moment in our history. And that's why, I feel my book is very important, because it's highlighting all of these issues. And also many mums, they want to be inclusive, they want to be supportive of their kids and young people. But the difficulty is, how do we be accepting and loving of people without harming people? Because what's happening now is a social contagion, and we're seeing many teens that wouldn't have thought about these things before. They're suddenly becoming to their parents, or in some cases not telling their parents, and transitioning and saying, oh, I'm trans, I'm non-binary. And, the parent has to wonder, where is this coming from? And we have obviously TikTok as a big driving force, social media. We have some schools in some predominantly Democrat states pushing these ideologies, pronouns and sex education classes. And there's even some Planned Parenthoods this summer, they're running summer camps for sex education for 4th and 5th graders. So, parents really need to look out for these signs, because nobody's trying to ostracize everyone. Everyone has the same equal rights. We're all human beings. Nobody's trying to take anyone's rights away. It's about protecting kids. And that's why my book is very important in highlighting, the warning signs for mums and dads to look out for, and, how we can protect kids without alienating people.
So, as someone who's been there and gone through this, if my child comes to me and starts to say, I think that I'm a boy or I'm a girl, and you want to be supportive, what would you suggest is the best path?
Well, it's really tough because a lot of parents are facing this issue now, and they weren't facing this years ago when their kids were growing up, and it's now the fact that this generally is a social contagion. We're seeing in some schools, you're seeing groups of girls suddenly becoming trans because their friends are becoming trans, or the teacher is teaching that. So I think all parents want to be loving and accepting, but I think we need to look at the root cause, because if your child is suddenly saying they feel this way, particularly when they're 12 or 13, this is the key pivotal time that these children believe they're trans. The parent needs to question, where is this coming from if it's suddenly come out of the blue? Because all parents love their children. But the most important thing is the parent having the conversation with their own child, because teachers should not be having this conversation. Adults not related to these children should not be telling kids how they should identify, or school counselors shouldn't be pushing this on kids. That conversation is between the parent, but the parent really should look at the root causes. What is driving this child to feel this way? Is it something to do with school? Are they being bullied at school? And also look at the link, maybe their child has autism. There's a very big link between autistic children having struggles with gender dysphoria. So it could be a completely different issue that is causing these kids to feel confused, and they're being told you're transgender when really they're just struggling to comprehend these feelings and thoughts they're having inside their head.
And I think it's getting it out of the government when we're being instructed to have this gender affirming care. As I said, as parents, we all want to be supportive. We all want to be inclusive. But if someone is going ahead and giving someone a binder without a parent's knowledge, or changing their pronouns without a parent's knowledge, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think any parent does have a problem with that, and rightly so, because we're seeing these education systems, and they're pushing this on kids, because many kids do not even understand gender identity. They don't even think about it. So, we do have to ask the question again, where is this all coming from? Because kids don't just suddenly wake up and say one day, oh, I must be trans. They're being told that. So it's books in schools and libraries, if they're having drag story hours, if they're spending a lot of time on social media like Instagram or TikTok, and they're seeing these trends, the algorithm picks up on this and tracks the child's vulnerability and pushes content related to that. And I've got several chapters in my book Gender Madness discussing this correlation between algorithms pushing this on kids and basically indoctrinating them. And again, parents want to be loving and inclusive, but we can't allow schools, educators, all of these pride parades to try to indoctrinate these kids. Let kids be kids. Let them figure out who they want to be on their own. If they're struggling with something, they need to speak to their parents, but they shouldn't be speaking with anyone else, sex educators, teachers, nothing at all. It should be just between the parent and the child.
Well, Oli, you've given us a lot to think about today. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Once again, it's Oli London. The book is Gender Madness, and it definitely a great read, and something that I think a lot of parents should take a look at so that they can have some real heart-to-heart discussions with their children, because we all want to be loving. We all want to be inclusive. I just think that silence, not talking about it or having a conversation, is leaving a lot of us in the dark. And what's wonderful about you is that you're shedding light on this issue.
Absolutely, and that's my ultimate goal, is to shine a light on this, because far too few people talk about it. So I want to expose this gender ideology, where it's coming from, and I want to help parents. I want to give them that guidance, and also help teens. I want teens to be able to buy this book and see, okay, maybe I should work on myself. Maybe I should find happiness from within. Maybe I should even find faith, to try and find happiness. So this is why this book is so important for parents, for teens, anyone that is struggling with this new concept of radical gender ideology or struggling with identity. Please buy this book. It's on pre-order on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles now. It's really going to save a lot of lives. And we owe this to all of the children. We owe this to the parents that are struggling through this right now. The mums, the dads, the grandparents. You have the great organization Mums for Liberty. They're fighting for their kids right now. So we owe it to all of them. So this book, I really hope, is going to help a lot of people. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Oli. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Alison.